All right, welcome to the webinar today. We're grateful. We're really glad to have you here, and should be a good one with a lot of questions from our students, and then we can work with you live as you have your microphone ready. Make sure that your microphone is working so that we can really work together here. So that's the great part about these webinars, is it gives you a chance as students of Pronunciation Pro to get some personalized feedback, to get your questions answered while you're going through the Pronunciation Pro course. So if this is your first time at one of our webinars, welcome. Glad to have you here. We're going to be using the questions box quite a bit during this webinar. So the questions box is there on your control panel. And what we'll do is, as we go through this webinar, I have a few questions from students that we'll go over together at the beginning, and then I open it up for just a question and answer session for the rest of you who are here on this call. And so whenever you have a question, and you can even start now, go ahead and write that into the questions box on the control panel, and it will give you a chance, and we'll just keep going through those questions one by one. All right, and I might review that in just a few minutes as well as more people show up. Okay, all right, so the webinar today, it's February 29th, which is Leap Day, so happy Leap Day. It happens every 4 years that we get an extra day in February. And actually, here, let me go ahead and share my webcam so you can see me. All right, there we go, hello. So those who are on the call right now can see me, and as we go through, sometimes that helps in being able to see my mouth shape and kind of how I'm pronouncing things. So that'll be good. All right, so today being Leap Day, it's actually another special day also because my nephew will probably be born today. He's my brother and my sister-in-law are in the hospital right now, and so they might have a leap day baby, a leap year baby, so which would be kind of fun. So we just have the hospital that they're at is just down the road from me, so I'm waiting to hear the news of when the baby's born so that we can run over there and meet the little guy. All right, so pretty exciting. Okay, so let's get started here. For those who have not or new to the Pronunciation Pro course, my name is Annie Rudin, and I am the lead trainer and the founder of Pronunciation Pro. So I created all the videos that you'll be seeing throughout the course, and you'll get very comfortable with my face as you go through the course and as we learn together. So that's great. So a bit of background about myself is I have 3 little boys. That's my husband there, and they are fun and active. And actually, these 2 pictures on the left-hand side are every day after school I put blanket out, and my littlest little guy and I go and sit and wait for my other 2 older sons to walk home from school. So as the weather's nice, and right now in the desert, I live in the Arizona in the United States, so the desert, kind of the desert climate. So the winter time here is our really good weather. So we enjoy being outside as much as possible, because once summer hits, it gets very, very hot, and it's very hard to spend too much time outside. So we enjoy as much as we can right now. And the picture on the right is actually, so on the left-hand side is my husband's parents, and the right-hand side are my parents. And my husband's parents are just in town for the next couple of weeks from Oregon. They're from the state of Oregon in the United States. So it's very rainy up there and cold during the winter time. So they like to come and spend a little bit of time with us in the sun. And then my parents actually live close. So it's fun to get them all together and enjoy a little time with the grandparents. All right, and an introduction to our kind of our team here at Pronunciation Pro. We have Gideani, who is administrative assistant, and Andrea Wilson, or Andrea Lobb. She is our trainer, American trainer, that works with a lot of our Plus and Premier clients. Okay, and so Gideani, she actually speaks, she's fluent in Spanish and in Chinese, so in Mandarin, so she told me to add this little caption to her picture of her and her husband at the Great Wall of China. So if there are any Mandarin speaking students on the call, then you might be able to know what that means. All right, let's go ahead. All right, so today we're going to start with some questions that actually Sunny sent in. So Sunny, I see that you're here on the call. So we'll go through your questions. These questions were emailed to me, so we'll have a chance to go through them together, and then we'll open it up for any questions you have. So as you're thinking about any questions, go ahead and write those in the questions box. All right. All right, here we go. So Sunny had a question. Sunny, let me unmute you. Sunny, you there? Sunny? Okay, so I'm not hearing you yet, but maybe we can get your microphone working. So I'll leave you unmuted while you kind of work on that. Okay, so Sunny had the question about how do you break down the word resilience to pronounce. So she had a lot of questions about kind of how to break words apart, how to get that fluent linking and connecting of words that are unfamiliar. So I wanted to walk through kind of the step-by-step process that you use with unfamiliar words. And we'll kind of go through the step-by-step process, but then I'm going to tell you kind of a really fast, easy way to do it. So let's go through that right now. All right, so the first step when you come across a word that you're unfamiliar with and you're having a hard time pronouncing is to break that word down into syllables. Okay, so there's one vowel sound per syllable, like you learn in the Pronunciation Pro course. In the word stress lesson in week 3, we talk about syllables and kind of how to break down words into syllables. So there's one vowel sound per syllable, not one vowel letter, but one vowel sound. Okay, so that's very important. So as you break down into syllables, one vowel sound per syllable, and remember, it's not how it's spelled, it's how it sounds. So as you're breaking it down into syllables, you really want to make sure that you're listening for those sounds. So breaking down words into syllables, so like right up here, I have 1, 2, 3 syllables. The dashes is where we kind of break it up into syllables. Okay, the second step is to identify the sounds. Okay, identify the sounds in the words. This might be tricky if you're not sure what sounds there are. And again, I'll tell you kind of a very quick tip of how to do this. So identifying the sounds is the second step. Finding the stressed syllable is a third step. So in week 3 in word stress, we talk about finding that stressed syllable. So every word in English has a syllable that is stressed, and it's one of those, pretty much every time I should say, the syllable for each word in English, the syllable that's stressed is going to remain the same. So there's not a lot of variability within that. So you're going to find the stressed syllable, and in this specific word, the stressed syllable has to do with the suffix. So the suffix ent or ents, we're going to stress the syllable right before that suffix. So in the word stress lesson in week 3, you learn about, okay, when you have there's rules that say when you're supposed to stress, which syllable you're supposed to stress. So you have certain suffixes like ent or ents or shun or, n, en, or anything like that. Some of these suffix on the root words of English words, they will determine, and it will show you what syllable gets stressed. It's either the syllable before, 2 syllables before, things like that. So that's all in the word stress lesson in week 3. I have all these worksheets that go through some of these suffixes and prefixes and the rules that go along with it. Okay? And then the fourth step is to blend those sounds together slowly and then speed them up. Okay, so blending those sounds together. So we've broken them apart, we've identified the sounds, found the stressed syllable, and then we need to blend those sounds together. So let me kind of show you the quicker way of doing this. So basically, if you find a word that you're not familiar with, resilience, okay, resilience, and you're like, how am I supposed to pronounce that? You need to have some kind of quick app that you can go to on your phone or on your computer, and that is like a dictionary app or things like that. I know that a lot of our students have given their recommendations for apps that they use. If you want to type in kind of what app you use, and I can read them off for some of the other students who needs some help of which app to use or what's a good one to use, then I'll share those. So finding an app that is a dictionary or a pronunciation guide that's for American English. So basically, I Googled resilience. The Merriam-Webster.com website came up, and so I clicked on that. What you have here is you have an audio, so it'll say the word for you, but right down here, what's nice is it breaks it into syllables. So our first step is breaking it down into syllables. So we have broken down into 3 syllables here. And then the sounds. So they usually, a lot of times, dictionary.com will use it in the IPA, will use IPA symbol, and then they'll kind of use something similar to Rudin Phonetics, where it's just like, let's just write it out how it sounds. And so here they'll have resilience. So if you look at kind of, this is the Rudin Phonetics version of it. It's very, very similar. It's not too far off. So breaking down to sounds, so we have resilience. So there's kind of this yence, this Y in there. Resilience. So a little bit interesting. So the pronunciation rules with the vowels, it should be resilience, because when 2 vowels go walking, the first one does the talking, right? Okay, resilience. But this one has a little bit of a reduced pronunciation, yence. Okay, and right here where it has the T and the S, the reason for that is resilience. You can do it with just the N to the S, but it's almost like, because of the pronunciation of that N to the S sound, and this happens occasionally with that ence, or that happens all the time when it has E-N-C-E is the ending here. Like silence is the same way. It's because the N is there pronounced with the N with your tongue right there on the roof of your mouth, and then you move it to the S sound. It's almost like there's a little bit of a T sound in there too. So you start hearing a little bit of a T sound. So that's why it's in parentheses. Resilience. So parents. You kind of hear how it's parents. Resilience. There's a little bit of that TS sound at the end. All right, so then the fourth step is then blending them together. So if you're having a hard time saying any part of those, then just break it apart and slowly bring them together. So resilience. Resilience. So wherever you're having a hard time kind of getting your mouth to move or link those, then you want to find a way to connect that, okay? So quick and easy steps, so that, the steps before, break down into syllables, identify the sounds, find the stressed syllable, and blend those sounds together. Oh, I didn't talk about finding the stressed syllable. So on here, in any dictionary, online dictionary, what you're going to see this little dash here, kind of like this, dash here. What I tend to do is bold the syllable that's stressed, but in dictionaries, you're going to see a little kind of dash mark there, and that means that is the stressed syllable. Okay, so you'll know that's where you stress. Resilience. So second syllable stress on that, resilience. Okay, Sunny, I'm not hearing your microphone, unfortunately. I have you unmuted, but I'm not hearing you. So set unmuted in case you're able to get that figured out there. Okay, let's see. Get back here. Okay, so yeah, find any kind of app or anything that will work for you. Dictionary.com is a good one. Merriam-Webster.com is a good one, and just use that quick and easy breaking into syllables. There it is in syllables. Identify the sounds, identify the stress, and then slowly blend them together. Okay, and you can listen to it. They'll say the word, but sometimes it's tricky being able to identify each piece of it unless you break it down like that. All right, hopefully that was helpful there. Another thing that I noticed on the Merriam-Webster.com website was this word of the day thing. And I recommend that all of you, whether it's from this website, I know a lot of the dictionary websites and will have something similar. But if you sign up for a word of the day, and just every day you're listening to that word, you're getting an idea of what it means, and you're kind of looking at the pronunciation of it and how it's done and how it's broken up into syllables and which syllable is stressed, hearing it, blending those sounds together. Do that on a daily basis, and it's just a great addition of just like that slow and steady. We kind of talk about step by step as you keep just building and adding to your skills, then you'll see that over time you'll develop such a great vocabulary. You'll be able to have a better understanding of pronunciation and things. So the things that you're learning in the Pronunciation Pro course will really add, this will be a good addition to it. So I recommend that you go and sign up there and get those word of the day somehow, whether this site or another site, so that you're just slowly building and being able to see how that pronunciation guide works. All right. Okay, so Sunny did have another, and I hate that we can't hear you here, so because I really want to be able to help you here, but she had a few. Sunny had a few words that that you wanted to be able to know how to pronounce. So I was just going to go through these quickly. So knife, and I'm going to kind of talk to the rules of why the long vowels, why the short vowels, things like that. So knife, we have the long I because we have the silent E. So when the rule with the vowels is when two vowels go walking, the first one does the talking. Well, so the first one does the talking means it gets its long pronunciation. So I, A, E, O, U. All those are the long vowels. So you get the long I, knife. There, so two vowels go walking, either they're right next to each other or they have just one consonant in between. So see how there's just one consonant, that F, in between those two vowels. So they're close enough that first vowel is going to get its pronunciation, or its full long vowel pronunciation. Now, if there were two consonants in between those two vowels, then that I would go back to a short pronunciation. It would be I. Okay, so that's kind of the vowel rule. So knife has that long vowel. Excuse me. Okay, and then athlete, same situation. We have the two vowels only separated by one consonant. So that vowel is going to get this long pronunciation. Athlete, and that's that voiceless TH sound. Black. So see how this vowel doesn't have any other vowels around it? Excuse me. So that vowel is going to get its short pronunciation, black. So it's not going to be Blake, because with the long A, because there's no other vowels around it, it would be black with a short A, black. All right, vanilla. Now this is an interesting one. It's very different in its pronunciation with the vowels than the rules. So those A's are going to get more of an pronunciation. Vanilla. Now the reason for this, what happens a lot of times is, so nil, this is the stressed syllable in there. A lot of times what happens is syllables or vowels in syllables that are unstressed, so not the stressed syllable, but the unstressed syllables in the words, occasionally what will happen is the vowels in those syllables will get a reduced pronunciation. Okay, so you'll get more of that and a lot of times that reduced pronunciation becomes vanilla, vanilla, vanilla. Okay, next one is language, language. This one is kind of interesting because if you see this first vowel, there's not any other vowels around it to make it that long vowel, that long A vowel, but it is pronounced with that long A. So language, and that A becomes more of an I. So this is just one of those interesting ones. Oh, Sunny, I think you might have gotten your microphone to work. You there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, wonderful. Glad to have you.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay, good. Okay, so did you get that with the word resilience? Can you say that word for me?
Resilient.
Okay, let's go back to that. Resilience.
Resilient.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back here and okay, so break it down, and so
Resilient.
Okay, and then get the ending. Yence.
Yen. Resilient.
Okay, so I'm hearing resilient from you, and I need to get that S at the end. So just get that ence.
Resilience.
There it is. Okay, do it again. Resilience.
Resilience.
Stronger S at the end. Yence.
Resilience.
There it is. Say it again.
Resilience.
Yep, that's it. Okay. Let's see. The resilience of the man was impressive. Say that.
The resilient man is impressive.
Okay, impressive. Say that for me. Impressive.
Impressive.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say impressis, and I want you to say impressive with a V at the end. Impressive.
Impressive. Impressive.
So say this for me. Sieve. Sieve.
Sieve.
Sieve. So that V. Va.
V. Impressive. Impressive.
So that, yeah, I got to get that V at the end, that second time you did it. So say resilient. So when you said it in a sentence, so that's the thing. You said it in a word, but then once you put it in the sentence, I didn't hear that S at the end again. Okay, so we got to make sure that S. The resilience of the man. You should say that. The resilience of the man. Say that.
The resilience of the man.
There it is. Good job. Okay.
I had to be really careful and slowly.
Yes, and that's the idea. You do have to go slowly to get all of those sounds in, but as you practice that, then you can slowly start to increase your speed. So
Thank you.
So finding words that have, like if you come across a word like resilience in a book or something that you're reading, then what you'll want to do is take apart that word, kind of identify how to say it, and then put it into a sentence and repeat that sentence 10 times so that you're getting that pronunciation, okay?
Okay, I will use that word.
Okay, so say that word for me again, one more time.
Resilience.
Good, okay.
Resilience.
Good, okay, I want you to say these words for me too. Say this.
So for this one, is it the K silent?
Yes, so the K is silent on this one.
I think I have problem with the N pronunciation. I normally say this one as a life.
Oh, yes. So
if I'm not careful, we'll go back to that word. Suppose the life.
Okay, so have you gotten to the L and the N lessons?
Not yet.
Okay, so
I'm
that will
reading
be
the
an
proof.
important one for you to distinguish between the L and the N. And the first step is always to hear the difference. So as you're going through the listening exercises, really make sure that it's nice and clear whether it's an L or an N. Okay, so yeah,
Okay.
you're right. The N, what you're doing is you're making it an L sound. So it's saying life instead of knife. So say that for me, knife.
Knife.
Mm-hmm. And the difference between the N and the L, for any of those who are struggling with this as well, the N, what happens, it's called a nasal sound. So what happens is that the mouth is kind of closed off by your tongue coming all the way and touching the roof of your mouth. And the air is coming through your nose in that sound. Okay, knife.
Knife.
Yep. So then life has the tongue kind of pointed and touching the same part of the mouth, the roof of the mouth, but the edges are open so that the air is coming through the mouth instead of the nose. Okay, so life.
Life.
Yeah. So knife,
Knife.
life.
Life.
Yes, exactly.
Knife. Life.
Mm-hmm. So making sure that when you do an N sound, that whole, your tongue touches the whole roof of your mouth so that the air is coming through your nose instead of your mouth. Okay?
Knife.
Perfect. So
Life.
he held the knife.
He held the life. Life.
Okay, I heard L instead of not an N, so do that one again. He held the knife.
He held the life. Life. Knife. Knife.
Mm-hmm.
Knife.
Okay, so what you'll
So,
want to do is when you get to that lesson on the N sound, go through those N words and just practice at the word level, at the sentence level, and just go slowly through those worksheets until you're feeling comfortable with it. And then you can start moving it into things that you're already reading, like books and things like that, okay? But concentrate on those videos and the worksheets that I give you for a while until it feels more comfortable. All
so
right?
what we for the N and the L sound?
What's the what? Say that again.
What we will I get the N and L lesson?
Oh, okay. Those are in week 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Okay.
Let me remember. I think week
Okay.
4.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
week 4. Okay. So say this one for me. Athlete.
Athlete.
Okay, and getting
Athlete.
those endings. So that's another one for you. Got to get those endings on because I'm hearing athlete,
Yeah.
and we need to get the ending. Athlete.
Athlete. Athlete.
Get that ending. Leet.
Neat.
Leet.
Neat.
Good. Leet. Okay, and then black.
Black.
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
And language.
Language.
Good. And brain.
Brain. Brain. Brain.
So in
Brain.
week 3, you're going to get that R lesson as well. So you want to make sure you're getting that tongue back, okay?
Brain. Brain. Brain.
Good. Okay, and then the names you showed me, and this is one thing that's interesting with names, is like with this one, Clive. So Sunny was asking me about names. So Clive, this has the long I because it has the silent E at the end, right? Those two vowels are close enough, so it would be the long I, Clive. Okay, say that one for me.
Clive.
Good.
Clive.
Okay, and then you sent me another one, and I actually don't know how to pronounce this name. So this is a new name that I've never heard before. So that what's important about that is that names are pretty unique. I mean, there's common ones that we'll come across very often. But this name, if it was following the pronunciation rules, it would be Naila. But I'm not sure that that's how it's pronounced, Naila. So
They say it's N sound. Lila. Lila. Something like that.
Are you sure,
Lila.
or is that just because the L and an N are sounding similar to you?
I know there's the N that I had in trouble here.
Uh-huh.
Lima, lima.
Nyla.
Yeah, yeah.
Nyla.
You
So,
got it. You got it.
so,
I can identify. Yes, yes,
so Nyla. So you'd want to get that N sound very clear because what you're saying is Lila with two L's and it's only
yes.
one L. Nyla.
Lima,
No, close off the N. Ny.
nine,
Mm-hmm.
nyla.
Good. So it's very important to get that N sound. So for you, it's not the L that's the problem, it's the N that's the problem,
Yes,
okay?
yes, yes.
So really practice that N sound when you get there, okay?
Okay, I will.
All right,
Thank you.
good. You're welcome. All right, another one he said was with the rune phonetics with the word taught, taught. So blending those sounds together, taught. Okay, let's get to all of your questions here. Madav, let's see. Madav, I'm going to unmute you. Madav, you there? Oh, it looks like the microphone might not be working for you as well. I'm going to keep you unmuted so I can come back to you, and hopefully that will work. Oh, you might have gotten that working. So I'll leave you unmuted there. Madav, you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi. All right, so your question, you said, how do you assess your accent by yourself? So meaning you, right?
Right.
Okay, so the idea through the course is as you do the listening exercises and you're going through what I know you've been in the course for a little while. What week are you on?
Right,
Are
it's
you
almost a year.
Yeah, okay. So you've been going through all the lessons and all the alumni lessons as well then, right?
Right, I'm almost at the end.
Okay. So good. So there's kind of two ways to do this. The way that the 12-week program is structured, I'm sure there's a lot of, as you're going through the 12-week program, where there are a lot of instances with the listening exercises and things that you're like, okay, I know I'm doing this wrong and I need to correct this. Did that happen through the program? Where you knew that there were certain sounds that you needed to correct and then you were able to correct those along the way?
Well, if I'm reading a passage or paragraph, I can make the sounds, but in the daily conversation,
Okay.
how do I assess myself? How am I doing?
Okay, so one thing, so here are a few ideas that kind of come to mind. How successful are your interactions with other people? Are you finding that people are saying, "What's that?" or asking you to repeat things?
Not much like before.
Okay.
I've been through pretty much.
So that is number one. That's kind of the best way to know how you're doing is how well those interactions are going. Are people understanding you? Are you able to have a very clear, easy flowing conversation with someone without there being that halted, like what it feels like before where people were saying, well, what? Say that again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's one way to gauge, okay, how am I doing with things? So say you were getting people to say, asking you to repeat yourself. Then you kind of go back and say, okay, how am I doing with my practice? Am I still practicing and focusing on my pronunciation and giving that practice time? Because it is like exercising, is that you can exercise it and work really hard at one point in your life, and then you stop exercising, and what happens? You start losing that muscle and losing that, that stamina, okay? So what you have to do is say, okay, I'm starting to get people asking me how to, to repeat myself, or I feel like my mouth's not moving like it used to. What you do is go back and you say, okay, every day I'm going to read out loud with my focus being on my pronunciation. Because like you said, when I'm reading and I'm focusing on it, I'm able to get the sounds fine. So what you have to do is make sure that that's part of your daily routine so that it carries over to your conversation. Does that make sense? Okay, so it sounds like you have a pretty good idea of how to assess yourself and how to hear if you're saying it correct or not when you're focused in your practice. It's just in conversation you have a hard time catching yourself, right? Okay, so like I said, if you feel like, okay, these are not going well. And actually, even before you start getting that feedback of like, oh, what's that? Or can you say that again? Keep that routine and that habit of just reading out loud every day. You're reading your news online, or you're reading some kind of a book. Make sure you read a few pages out loud and keep your focus on your pronunciation, making sure your mouth is moving in the ways that you know it should be moving because you hear it and you're focused on it. So keep that habit, and it will carry over into your conversational speech more and more.
More and more. Okay.
And the other ways too is our trainers. You can always do an accent assessment and kind of get an idea of like, how am I doing right now? For you, you did the alumni course, right?
Right.
Okay, so
I'm in 10th month now.
Yeah, so you did the alumni course. So one thing that you can do is the alumni feedback program. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so doing the alumni feedback program, where you can submit a recording every month and get feedback from our trainers, and that kind of helps you see, okay, how am I doing along the way? And in those recordings, you can do it more conversational. So you can just record yourself talking about, oh, this weekend I went and did this. And so you get more feedback on that more conversational speech. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'm just going through some of these questions. Okay. Najen, fan, right there. Najen, you there? Najen, hi. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How about you?
Very good, very good. Okay, so you're kind of wondering how you're doing with some of the sounds. What week of the program are you in?
I finished all 12 weeks.
Oh, okay, good. So you've gone through all of the 12-week program, and are you starting in on the alumni course now?
I haven't. Maybe next week.
Okay.
I don't know how the alumni courses will be.
Okay. All right. So those will kind of go into some of it's review, some of it's taking like common reductions, kind of some more advanced pronunciation skills. So you can go through those and get even more practice. But go ahead and tell me about your experience in the 12-week course, where there's certain sounds or certain areas that you were able to identify that you needed to practice, and how did that go for you in the 12-week course?
There's a couple things that I make mistakes, such as the intonation.
Okay.
Because I think my music intelligence are not so good at all.
Okay.
So I usually cannot repeat all the intonation that you sound. So if I just listen to you, I can repeat that easily. But after a day, I forget that. So I cannot identify which words should be stressed in the sentences.
Okay. Okay, so which syllables should be stressed, huh?
Yeah, and which phrase should go up and down also.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm really excited for you to be able to go through the alumni course, because we talk a lot about that. It's like, how can you get that rhythm to all work together so you know when to go up, when to go down, how it kind of all works together. So I'm just thinking through it, I have my alumni course here listed, all the lessons, but we talk about the third week is intonation and stress and how they all work together. We talk about linking and how that helps the fluency, and we talk even more about how to kind of link and connect to create that movement and that rhythm. And one thing that I do is I give you a bunch of TED Talks to be able to listen to and repeat, and I have the transcript there for you so that you can practice it along with the speaker and kind of match some of those. So the place you're at right now, listening to the sounds that you have in English, you're doing a really, really good job. So those sounds are very clear. It's just getting the rhythm to match. Now, I didn't hear any problems with word stress, but with those multisyllabic words and some of those unfamiliar words, you're probably having a little bit harder time identifying those, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the key with the word stress is to really be listening for that word stress as other people are talking. Being able to kind of listen to some of those multisyllabic words, doing that word of the day kind of thing, or looking up words in dictionary and being able to see where that stress is will help. And just being able to kind of tune your ear to that stress and picking it up from others, because you could go through and memorize the rules and things like that, but it's not going to be as effective as training your ear to listen for those in the way other people are speaking. Okay? So as you're going through, think, okay, this time as I listen to this TED Talk, what I'm going to do is follow along with the transcript and look for words that I might not know how to stress, and listen to how they do it, look it up on dictionary, kind of get a little bit of practice that way. You know, it'll take a little bit of time, but if you do a little bit every day, say you just do 2 or 3 minutes worth of that every single day of identifying the word stress, that will build, and you'll be able to get your ear will be tuned more and more to that, to hearing word stress and being able to repeat that the way others do. Okay. All right, the other thing I want you to concentrate on, because there's that rhythm and things, and I think through the alumni course, you're going to get a lot of exposure to different strategies of how to get that intonation pattern and match that, because it creates more, it's more of an art, right? It's kind of more of the feeling and the emotion to it versus put your mouth here and say it this way. So it does take a little bit more time to get that natural flow. I think you have a good advantage. I think you're doing very well. I think you're probably doing better than you think you are in the way that you're using that tone. But I think that's that flow and making it more and more natural. You're going to get a lot of exposure through the alumni course, and then going through and pulling out the word stress and kind of identifying which syllable are they stressing, and tuning your ear more and more to that. All right. Now the only thing with the sounds that I want you to pay attention to is the endings, and mostly with, like, when you said the word sounds, I didn't hear the ds at the end. Sounds, and like we just did, resistance, getting those endings, especially when there's 2 consonants in a row, like ts, ds, ths. Make sure you're getting those endings on there, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Thank
good. You're welcome. Okay. Anar says, okay, Anar, I'm going to actually unmute you. So Anar was giving feedback. Anar, are you there?
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. So you're giving us feedback about the name that we were working on, and you said it's from your language. So tell us
actually, yeah, the name Naila, that's how it's pronounced,
Naila.
is very known in Central Asia and Near East.
Okay, so say it again.
Naila.
Okay, so in that, you're going to Naila, right?
Yes, but
so
that's how it's pronounced in our language. I'm not sure about English, possibly they slightly distorted pronunciation.
Well, that's the thing about names, is it's however the person wants it to be pronounced, right? it's also kind of relative. So however that person pronounced their names, that's how we need to pronounce their name, or try to pronounce their name, because a lot of times, especially when I'm pronouncing, especially all of your names, it's difficult because some of the sounds that you're using in your name are not in the English language. And so I'm using English sounds to pronounce your name. So it gets a little bit tricky. That's why some names are adapted to the English sounds instead of the actual way that your name is pronounced in your language. So, okay, so Naila. Nail, say it again. Naila. Okay. All right. So Sunny, Naila. That's the correct pronunciation. Thanks, Anar.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so Olabenga is saying, I'm in a library, so I can't respond to you, so I won't unmute you, but my problem is that I have difficulties in making every part to my word strong and also staying strong with each word when I'm speaking. Equal level of concentration for each word. What can I do to improve because it affects my being understood? Okay, so so in response to this one, let's see. So the first part is kind of saying each part of the word. So that is a lot of like having to move your mouth more and things like that. So when you're working on a word or working on your daily practice out loud reading, you want to make sure you're moving your mouth a lot, you're getting those sounds into position. Now when and as you practice that and you're strengthening your mouth muscles to move more, get those bigger movements and get all the sounds in the words, then it will carry more and more into your conversation, but especially multisyllabic words. So words that have multiple syllables, 3, 4, 5 syllable words. A lot of times those multiple syllables can get tricky. And actually, that's one thing that I'm going to add to the bonus lessons. I did this with a client the other day where I had a whole list of a bunch of multisyllabic words, and we just went through them to make sure that she was able to get each part, because what she was doing was she was dropping kind of sounds in the middle of these multisyllabic words. And we want to make sure we don't do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add that list of multisyllabic words to the bonus lessons and give an MP3 recording of reading those so you can practice along with me. Okay, so I'm just making myself a little note here. Okay, so I'm going to add that in the next week here to the bonus lesson so you can practice that. Now, as far as equal concentration for each word, you don't need to give equal concentration to each word. We don't talk like this with every word having equal stress and, same thing. So that, that stress is not going to be the same for each one. It's making sure that we're not just kind of muffling through some words. We still have to move your mouth and you have to get your mouth into positions for the sounds, but there's not going to be equal concentration for each word. So you're going to have the stressed words that are more important. So like even I said, the stressed words that are more important. The stressed words that are more important. Stress and important is what I said, more emphasized than the other. There are is kind of a little bit faster. There are stressed words that are those, that was a little bit faster and less stressed. Stressed words that are more important. Okay. So that idea of making sure that we don't, you don't have to stress every word equally, but those important words you do want to give emphasis and stress to. Okay, so moving your mouth more, getting those muscles in your mouth more engaged as you're speaking, and then stressing the important words. That's what's going to make sure, that's going to give your listener a better feel and be able to understand you better. Now, it might be, Olabenga, just knowing you is the speed that you're speaking at. You might be speaking too quickly. Okay, so that's why some of these words are getting muffled together, is making sure that you slow down a little bit, emphasize those key words, and get your mouth moving. I mean, it's the 3 easy steps you learn in the first week of the program. Because you've done all the training for your mouth, your mouth knows where it should go if you're slowing down enough to make sure it gets there. Okay? All right, next one. Okay, now Jen. Oh, let's see. Let me get over to my worksheet here. Now, Jen, you're saying you need help with a few certain words. So let's go through those words together. I'm going to increase my... All right, shield, world, and word. Okay, so you want to try resilience. Good, and sure. So Nijen, let's unmute you. You there?
Yes.
Now, is Nijen because that's a common kind of last name. Is that your last name or your first name?
That's my first name,
Okay.
Nguyen. That's my first name.
So how do you pronounce it?
In Vietnamese, it is Nguyen.
Win. Oh, okay. And how do you pronounce it? Like, are you in the States or are you in Vietnam?
I'm in the States.
Okay, so how do you introduce yourself?
I just make up an American name.
Oh, you do. Okay. Okay, so that's kind of the workaround, right? Because
Yeah.
when, so it would be pronounced when in Vietnam,
Yeah,
kind
Nguyên,
of.
because
Mm,
English doesn't have the NG sound
yeah.
together and it doesn't have UYEN together.
Okay.
So there's no matter how
Yeah.
hard the American people try, they cannot say it right.
Yep. Just like we were just talking about, right? So
Yeah.
what's the American name you came up with?
Kara,
Kara. Beautiful.
Cara.
Okay. All right. Okay, Kara. Then we'll go ahead and work on these words here.
Okay.
So, shield. Say that for me.
Shield,
Shield. So there's kind of that dark L sound in there. Shield.
shield,
Good. And then world. Say that for me.
word,
Okay, so that's a very common one. So everyone needs to pay attention to this one. So very common one to have a hard time with that dark L. So what happens is with this word, okay, so say word for me.
word,
Okay, so what's happening is that R sound needs to be a little bit stronger. So we need to pull that back. Word.
word,
Yeah, you got it. Okay, that's a very, very strong R. Good. Okay, so word.
word,
Okay, so what we want to do with the word world is we're going to do were and then go old. So do that for me. Were and slowly. Were old.
word,
Okay, and then get the D at the end. Old.
old,
Yeah, so it's kind of like saying old, like the old man, not young but old. But it has instead of the more rounded O sound, it's the dark L. Old.
old,
Old.
old,
Okay, so do were old.
world,
Uh-huh. World.
world,
Okay, you got to get that strong R. You're kind of relaxing on the R. So world.
world,
Say old.
old,
Say old.
old,
Were old.
world,
World.
world,
World.
world,
There it is. World.
world,
World.
world,
Yeah, world.
word.
You slipped back.
Yeah,
Okay, do
miss
it
it.
again. World.
World,
World.
world,
Okay, you got to still drop back, so got to split that apart until you can get that together. World.
world,
World.
world,
There it is. Okay, world.
world,
World.
world.
Okay, close. It kind of dropped back again,
Yeah.
okay? So that's the key. That's the key of a word like that is you have to break it apart and then start slowly moving it closer together until you can get those two sounds to communicate together. So that old right after the R is a tricky one. World.
Can you make a bonus lesson to teach us how to say these words together because it's really hard.
Yes, I will do that because you are definitely not the only one that struggles with that one. Okay. So we're gonna, yeah, let's do a bonus lesson on that one. I will add that one as well. Okay, so do resilience.
Resilience.
Perfect. Sure.
Sure.
Good. Nice strong R. Okay, good job.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, good. Let's see. Okay, so Chandra, Chandra, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. Okay, so you're asking, and this might have been a question about something we were talking about earlier, but why is the vowel A in the word take pronounced like a long A, and the word car is pronounced like ah? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the word take. Okay, and tell me what week of the program you're in.
Yeah, I was in week 5 actually, so I have to start from today. But I have a doubt like starting the word with A.
Mm-hmm.
So what
So
have to pronounce like?
yeah, so you're starting to learn about the vowels right now. Weeks 5 through 7 are about vowels, and the week 5 is that long vowel. So what you're going to be learning is about, so take is the long A because it has the E at the end. Okay, so like we were talking about the beginning of this webinar, when you have two vowels right next to each other, the first vowel is going to get its long pronunciation. Okay, so two vowels together or just having one consonant in between is close enough to get that long vowel be the first, sound. So if it were something like that, so there's take and there's tack. You hear that? So take has the long A because it has the E right here, right?
Yeah.
But this word is tack with the short A because there's no other vowel around.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's why take has the long A.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I got it.
Okay, good. Okay, and then the word car, what happens here, when you went through so that's an R vowel. So that's going to be a little bit different in the vowels than just the vowel sounds. So AR is an R vowel. So it always says R. R. Okay, AR. So car, far, like heart, heart, like that. Heart has the AR vowel, right? R. So this is why it's not a short A and says car, it's going to be that R vowel. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So all of those, so that's we go over the R vowels in week 3, I think, when we go through the R's. So all of those R vowels are going to have its kind of an own pronunciation, so it won't necessarily be pronounced like the regular vowels. All right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I got it.
Good question. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Osvaldo is asking, let's see, I have some problem to link expressions like these, of football, of family, and with the father. Okay, Osvaldo, I'm going to unmute you here. You there, Osvaldo?
Hello, Amy.
Hello.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good to hear you again. Okay, so of football and of family. Let's do those ones first. So say those for me. Of football, of family.
Of football, of family.
So what happens is that of kind of gets this of with the UV, okay? Of, and are you seeing the worksheet here that I'm writing on?
Yes.
Okay, good. Of football. So what's happening is you have to get from the V to the F sound, which those are pairs. So they're in the same position. Of football. So your mouth is in the same position, so you just connect it. So you don't necessarily move your mouth any other place. So in the linking connection or linking lesson, when you do consonant to consonant, if the sound is the same or in the same position, then you just carry the sound. So of football, of family.
Family. Okay.
So you don't necessarily release the V, you just go into the F. Of football, of family. Do that for me.
Of football, of family.
So you just kind of connect that. Of football, of family. So I watch a lot of football. Say that. I watch a lot of football.
I watch a lot of football.
There you go. Of football. So that's the connection there. Good. And then let's do with the father. With the Father.
I hear myself saying it that sound different than the rest of the people.
Okay, so say it. Say it for me.
With the father.
Okay. So what you want to do with that th, again, that same idea that there's the same sounds at the end of word and at the beginning of the next word. So we just say it as one sound. Okay. With the father.
With the father.
With the father.
With the father.
Mm-hmm.
With the father.
Exactly.
There are three similar sounds together, no? With the father.
With the father. Yeah, you have that th again in father. Yep. So just make sure it's kind of like you would say with the father. So you're just going with the.
Okay.
With the father. Okay? All right, perfect. Good question. Oh, and you have one, let's see, one more question here. What I have failed to do. Say that one for me.
Let me concentrate.
Okay.
What I have failed to do. What I have failed to do.
So it's that same situation with the have failed. Have failed. Just like of family, we're going to do that sound just once. Have failed. Have failed.
Have failed.
Mm-hmm. What I have failed to do.
What I have failed to do.
Mm-hmm. Good. Do it again.
What I have failed to do.
Good. Much clearer. Failed. I'm just kind of so that T becomes a D because it's surrounded by vowels. What I've failed. What I've failed.
What I've failed to do.
And a lot of people, what they'll say, what I've failed to do. In connected speech, they'll do a contraction. What I've failed to do.
What I've failed to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
Okay. And there's another one that's ever virgin.
Ever virgin. Okay, ever virgin. So there's a lot of those R's and V's in there. So you're kind of going EVRVR. Okay, so ever
virgin.
Yeah, ever virgin. So you want to get, instead of version, you want to get a j sound. Virgin.
Virgin.
Mm-hmm. Ever virgin.
Ever virgin.
Mm-hmm. Good. Ever virgin. All right. So practice. Virgin. There you go. So you're getting it. It's just a matter of, kind of training your mouth to do it. And so you just practice it over and over and over again. Okay?
I still get entangled in that, so I am practicing it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, just like the tango. All right, good. Thanks, Osvaldo. Good questions. Okay, last questions by, again, I'm sorry if I mispronounce, Ibunken. Okay, so I'm going to unmute you here. Ibunken, are you there? Ibunken? I might be totally butchering your name. So, Ibunken? Oh, hold on. Oh, I'm not able to unmute you. Let's see. So, Ibunken is saying the voice and voiceless TH sounds needing a little bit of help there. So I'm not sure why that's not working, and this will have to be our last one. Ibunken. I'm not able to get you unmuted for some reason. Maybe you can, it's stuck on your side. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, and if you're able to get your microphone working, I'll just say something in the questions box and I'll unmute you. All right, so let's go back here. All right, so great questions today. I'm really glad that we were able to do so much, get a lot of your questions answered, talk about specifics, and hopefully as I'm going, and the idea here is as I'm going through other people's questions, you're doing along with us. So when we've saying of family and I've been, you know, making sure that you're getting your mouth moving in those ways as well. But those ideas carry over. You know, it all comes back to those set lessons from the 12-week program is linking. We're connecting words together. We're having to kind of get those same sounds to connect. And if you're sharing the mouth position for consonant to consonant, then you're going to share that sound. So it all comes back to those original lessons that you're learning in the 12-week program. So if you haven't gotten to the linking lesson or some of these things that we've been talking about, then just be patient, because you'll get there and you'll get that foundation laid as you go through the 12-week course. Okay? So as you go through, definitely be writing down questions. If you need feedback on certain sounds, you're not sure if you're saying them correct, come to these webinars. Let's practice them. Let's make sure you're doing it correct. But the idea is, I'm going to kind of show you the trick and make sure you're doing it correct, but you have to go back and practice it. Because again, like he was just saying, Osvaldo was saying, it's just like the tango, you know, if you're not going to be able to get that movement and unless you practice. So you have to train your muscles to move in a certain way. And that's the same for your mouth. You have to train your muscles to move in the way that we're practicing and the way that I'm teaching you. And that just comes with practice. Okay, but you can do it. Use the worksheets until you're feeling comfortable with the worksheets, and then move that practice into reading materials of your own. I give you some, TED Talks to work on, the bonus lessons, anything that you want to read out loud. That's going to give you practice as long as you're focused on those target sounds that you're working on, or those target ideas. Okay, as you go through the course, you're working on the sounds, you're working on the rhythm of English. So make sure that rhythm, you're really kind of stepping back and saying, okay, how's my rhythm feeling? Am I getting kind of that up and down motion? Now, I do have to say, with the 12-week course, we give you the foundation with rhythm, but in the alumni course is where we're really able to do more with the rhythm and get even more advanced with the rhythm. Because the rhythm tends to take a bit longer to fully develop and fully get the feel for than just the sound. So the 12-week course, you should be able to get those sounds very solid in the 12-week course, and the beginnings, really the beginnings of that rhythm. You're getting the idea, you're getting the flow, but it's in the alumni course that you start perfecting that and really refining that rhythm. So so be aware of that. All right, so we'll go ahead and end the webinar today. I'm not able to get the microphone working for Ibunken, but Sunny, you were saying you didn't have a chance to write that down, but by let's see, Wednesday of this week, I'll have this webinar recording posted to the website. So you'll have a chance to go through this recording, even if you didn't have a chance to write down everything from your questions. You just go to the recording, you'll have that working for you, okay? If you have other questions, feel free to email me at annie@pronunciationpro.com and come to our next webinar. We have these every 2 weeks, and as it gets more popular, we'll probably have it more often, but every 2 weeks for now. And then actually Andrea is kind of looking at hosting a few webinars in between my every other week webinar. So we want to give you the support and help you need as much as possible as you're going through the course, so that you can be successful in being able to be clear and accurate in your English pronunciation, and especially to be confident while you're speaking, because that's the whole goal. Because when you develop the skills of English and you feel confident, then you'll be able to go on and reach your real goal, which is unique to you, but getting a better job, getting a promotion, making more friends, having more success in your social interactions, whatever it may be. We want you to be able to reach that goal, and anything we can do to help, we want to make sure that we do that. So thank you so much for coming today. Appreciate all your questions and all your interaction today, and I hope you have a great week. Thanks. And happy Leap Day. Thanks. Bye.